School book depository employee Billy Nolan Lovelady did have a life besides what happened on November 22nd, 1963, and I'm going to go through what I can find of that here. And Joe Ball of the Warren Commission asked Lovelady about this during his Warren Commission testimony. Can you tell me something about yourself, where you were born, and what your education was and your experience in general? Well, I was born at Myrtle Springs, Texas, 1937, February 19th, and lived there for about 20 years until I went into the service, and I did nursery work, and that's about all there is. Farm work down there, nursery, and stuff like that. When did you go to work for the Texas School Book Depository? December 16th, 1961, I believe it was. So he mentions he was in the service. Usually, well, I don't know about usually, I haven't conducted the survey, but often at least, the Warren Commission questioners will ask which branch of the service and were you honorably discharged, and this was not asked in the case of Billy Lovelady. But there are a bunch of documents which can be found in the Mary Farrell website collection, which pertain to a crime in which Billy Lovelady was involved and of which he was convicted. And I'll be reading from some of those documents here, starting with this one. On April 11th, 1961, AUSA Baltimore filed order in U.S. District Court do something indictments against subjects for reason that a superseding information has been filed. Information filed in U.S. District Court by AUSA Baltimore charging Krause and Williams with violation Title 18 U.S. Code, all that, and Lovelady with 2 counts of violation of Title 18 United States Code, Section 641. All subjects entered pleas of guilty. Krause and Lovelady fined $200 without costs. Payments on said fine to be made at the rate of $25 per month, with commitment in default of payment. Williams sentenced to 6 months custody of the Attorney General, service of sentence suspended, and defendant released on probation for 2 years. Total fines of $400. So Lovelady, what this is about is the theft of, involving Lovelady anyway, 2 pistols from the U.S. Air Force. And Billy Lovelady did sell them to a police officer. So that's what this refers to. And he was fined $200 for that. Now, among these documents, there is a September 9th, 1960 signed statement from Billy Lovelady, and I'm going to read part of that. I, Billy Nolan Lovelady, make the following free and voluntary statement to Richard C. Halstead, who has identified himself to me as a special agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, etc. I am 23 years old, having been born February 19th, 1937 at Myrtle Springs, Texas. I have completed 11 grades of school. On December 3rd, 1957, I enlisted in the United States Air Force at Dallas, Texas. At the present time, I am an airman 2nd class assigned to the 1001st Supply Squadron, Andrews Air Force Base, Maryland. I have had this assignment since March 9th, 1958. I am quartered in barracks number T199, room number 213. Charles Williams is quartered in the room next to mine on the north side. I have known Williams about 1 year and a half, and he is an airman 2nd class assigned to 1001st Supply Squadron. He works in Warehouse 3. Approximately 2 months ago, one evening, Williams called me to his room and told me to lock the door behind me. He said to get a box out of his locker, which I did. I opened something of the box and saw saw one revolver and one holster. I picked up the revolver, and it had an oily substance on it. The box was filled with other items which were wrapped, when I assumed from the shape were revolvers and holsters. I asked Williams where he got them. Williams told me he had gotten them where he worked. And he knows he works in the warehouse, the Air Force warehouse. I knew Williams worked at the warehouse and that this property must have been stolen. A few minutes later, I went back to my room without any further conversation regarding this property. About 6 weeks ago, on a Saturday night, I, Jim Bradshaw, John Barnes, and Joe Jones, all airmen and assigned to the 1001st Supply Squadron, drove to North Beach, Maryland, in Bradshaw's yellow Ford. We all went into Uncle Billy's bar. While in Uncle Billy's bar, I saw Carrie Martin at the bar. I know Martin is a policeman and would probably be interested in buying one of Williams's revolvers. I alone went to the bar and asked Martin if he would be interested in buying a .38. Martin asked me how much. I told him $10 or maybe more. Since I had not discussed the price with Williams, I did not know how much it would be. I told Martin I would bring one of the pistols down to him and also find out how much it would cost. Martin asked me how many I could get, as he knew someone who might be interested in buying one. I told him there were 4. The next day, Sunday, I saw Williams in his room and told him there was a policeman at North Beach who was interested in buying a .38. Williams said he would think about selling him one and let me know. Sometime later, a number of days later, I saw Williams in his room, at which time he told me it was okay, and next time I went to North Beach to pick one up and take it down and sell it for, I think it says $25. Anyway, it's getting hard to read here. So what's going on is that Williams is he's in the Air Force, and this other guy he bunks with is stealing guns from the Air Force. Billy Lovelady knows they're stolen guns from the Air Force, and so Billy Lovelady thinks it's a good idea to try to sell these guns to a policeman. And of course that policeman knew that was a bad idea, and he went to the authorities, and that's how they were caught. And reading from more of these same documents, on December 7th, 1962, Assistant U.S. Attorney Robert J. Carson advised that Lovelady paid $125 towards his fine and has never paid the remainder. His last payment was made over 1 year ago, and his present whereabouts is unknown. Assistant U.S. Attorney Carson sent a letter to Lovelady on October 12, 1962, addressed to Airman Second Class Billy N. Lovelady at the Andrews Air Force Base. This letter was searched through the Andrews Air Force Base post locator but returned as undeliverable. Assistant U.S. Attorney Carson spoke to Judge Thompson about this matter, and Judge Thompson desired Lovelady to be apprehended and brought before him. On December 7, 1962, Judge Thompson ordered the issuance of a bench warrant for Lovelady's arrest and also ordered that bail be taken in the amount of $1,000 as recommended by Assistant U.S. Attorney Carson. On December 7, 1962, a bench warrant was issued at Baltimore for suspect's arrest by Wilfred W. Butchke, Clerk, U.S. District Court for the District of Maryland. On January 7, 1963, Deputy Sheriff C.A. Albright, Dallas County Sheriff's Office, exhibited the file of Billy Nolan Lovelady, School Book Depository, 411 Elm Street, Dallas, Texas, and FBI number 742048D, Dallas County Sheriff's Office number, yada yada. On January 7th, 1963, Lovelady was apprehended by Special Agents Ivan D. Lee and Curtis E. Holt at Texas School Book Depository. and was incarcerated in the Dallas County Jail. Deputy U.S. Marshal John Lowe was notified, and subject was taken before U.S. Commissioner William Madden Hill, Dallas, Texas, on January 7, 1963. Subject indicated to U.S. that his employer, O.V. Campbell, Vice President, Texas School Book Depository, would advance him $75 to pay the remaining balance of the fine if the charges would be dropped. And that's what happened. The charges were dropped, and the fine was paid by Campbell. Now there's this document, which is very much redacted, but I find interesting because under the redactions it says, no comments have appeared in the press as to Andrews Air Force Base. This is what's the date on this? February 17th, 1961. Now, I don't know why. Maybe because it's all redacted there. But there seems to be some concern here in February of 1961 about something becoming public knowledge. And I don't know what it is. So questions that occur to me is if this was a theft from the military by a soldier, then why wasn't he court-martialed? Or it seems like this was handled by the civil courts, or criminal courts, whatever you'd call it, but not by the, he wasn't, well, if he was court-martialed, it's not in the records, and of course we don't know what kind of discharge he got, and apparently the courts thought he was still at the Air Force Base, a year after he stopped paying. It just seems kind of weird. It, in retrospect, seems kind of lax, the way Lovelady was treated, but maybe not. I don't know. He didn't really do a whole lot, but what he did was very illegal against the U.S. military. It seems like it's suspect in that he didn't, well, I don't know. And the way the story reads, the way Billy Lovelady tells it in his statement, it sounds a lot like, to me, like it could be a setup of a dumb bastard that is Billy Lovelady. I mean, his friend invites him in to look at some pistols, and then Billy Lovelady goes out to a bar, and there's a cop there he knows is a cop, and he offers to sell him one of the stolen pistols. It seems like Billy Lovelady isn't a whole lot smarter than he looks, and that probably everybody, his fellow soldiers probably knew how dumb he was, and I don't know. I'm just, of course, in retrospect, because of the assassination, and I think Billy Lovelady's role in it, it makes me wonder whether or not he was being set up to be a leveraged asset of some intelligence organization. And skipping ahead to his obituary, a man whose uncanny resemblance to Lee Harvey Oswald led to years of harassment by theorists and investigators of the assassination of President John F. Kennedy has died in self-imposed seclusion, relatives report. Billy Nolan Lovelady, 41, worked with Oswald at the Texas School Book Depository and was photographed standing in the building's doorway when Kennedy was shot shortly after noon on November 22, 1963. Despite the Warren Commission's conclusion during its investigation of the assassination that it was definitely Lovelady in the doorway, and supportive evidence was ever offered. Little supportive evidence was ever offered. That led many conspiracy theorists to assert that it was Oswald in the photograph in support of their contention that someone else was responsible for Kennedy's murder. Attorney Kenneth Bruton, speaking for the family, said Lovelady died last Sunday in Colorado. He would not reveal specifically where Lovelady died, saying he hoped to forestall any further inquiries. The lawyer said there was no reason to doubt Lovelady died of natural causes, although he and several family members believe the constant pressure and questioning about the assassination contributed to Lovelady's decline. The fact that he died suddenly, at age 41, is going to stir up a lot of theories, he added. Lovelady's wife, Patricia, refused to discuss the death except to say, I have been harassed for 15 years, and I'm not going to be harassed anymore. Billy Lovelady, dead at the age of 41.